So Be'ezrat Hashem, we're up to, in the order of the Melachot, we're up to the following three Melachot we're going to try to cover. It's really, these three Melachot are really one thing, and we're going to Be'ezrat Hashem break it up into two sessions. So we've been covering the Melachot that are the first number of Melachot, or the Melachot that are the order of making bread. So we covered Choresh, plowing, we covered Zoreya, planting, we covered Kotzer, harvesting, cutting, we covered Ma'amer, which is the gathering, we covered last time Dash, which was threshing, right? That step of the process, they had all of the grains on the floor, and they would have this like a plank with needles on the bottom, and they would ride with an animal over it, and they would stand on it, so it would apply pressure, and it would extract the seeds, the kernels, from the shells. That was Dash. And then now we're up to the following Melachot. The next four Melachot are Zoreh, Borer, Tochen, and Meraked. What are they? So Zoreh is winnowing. Basically what they would do is, when they had this mixture now on the floor of shells and kernels, they would take some type of shovel type thing and this tool, and they would fling it up into the air, and the wind would blow away the undesired shells, and you would be left with the kernels, the seeds. That's the malach of Zoreh. Borer was then afterwards, you're left with this mixture, and you have to separate the pebbles or anything out so that you're just left with kernels. And then the next malach after that was Tochen, grinding. You grind to make the kernels into flour, and then the malacha after that is meraked, sifting. You sift the flour to get any debris out of the flour. So the Gemara really says that three of these malachot are really the same idea. The Gemara says Hainu Zoreh, Hainu Borer, Hainu Meraked. Those three malachot, Zoreh, Borer, and Meraked, are all the same thing. When you throw up the kernels and the shells into the air, what are you doing? You're trying to separate. You want the wind to blow away the undesired item, and you want to be left with the desired item. Borer also, it's a similar idea. You're separating. You're taking the undesired item, the pebbles, out of the grains. And then Meraked also, when you're sifting the debris out of the flour. So the Gemara says they're all really related, and they all kind of fall under that umbrella of separating. So that's really, it's three malachot, but we're going to treat it as one, and we're going to Be'ezrat Hashem try to cover that today. So in the Mishkan, these malachot were done. All these malachot were done in the process of making dyes. They would take herbs and they would do these malachot with them to eventually create dyes to dye the fabric used in the building of the Mishkan. So these malach of Borer, we're just umbrella, call it Borer. Borer is probably one of the most violated malachot on Shabbat, very likely, and it's also one of the most complicated malachot on Shabbat. That's why Be'ezrat Hashem, we're going to divide it into two parts. This year is going to cover part of Borer, and then next time we're going to cover the other part. And also one very important thing is, when it comes to Borer, one small detail can be the difference between something that's completely mutar and something that's asur mideoraita. Meaning, a lot of times with other melachot, so you have, this is mutar, this is derabanan, this is deoraita, but with Borer, one mindset, one viewpoint, one vantage point of one Rav versus another Rav will make a difference between deoraita and completely mutar. And there are a lot of things that are very unclear, and a lot of poskim have different viewpoints, different perspectives, and it makes a big difference. Just for example, borer is when you have a mixture and you separate from the mixture. So what's a mixture? Like, what if you have a table and you have some empty soda cans and some soda cans that still have soda in them? So is that considered a mixture of soda cans? Some poskim might tell you that's a problem. You can't remove the empty bottles from a drink table. Some poskim will tell you, no, that's not a mixture. What are you talking about? Everything is clearly delineated and you could see what's what. So one perspective, according to some poskim, you may be doing an isur d'oraita. According to other poskim, completely mutar, right? Different cuts of meat. Is that considered a mixture, or is that the same thing? If you have chicken thighs and and chicken breast. You have white meat and dark meat. Is that considered two different types of things? Is that a mixture or not? Big pieces versus small pieces, all the same item, but you have big ones and small ones. Is that a mixture? Is that not? So all these questions are questions that the poskim deal with, and B'ezras Hashem we'll get into a little bit. Okay, so first, so let's get into it. So first thing we're going to talk about is the first malacha in this series was the malacha of zoreh, which was winnowing, which is throwing things up in the air so that the wind can blow away the undesired item. So the poskim point out that for one practical application of this is if somebody has something, they have, like, let's say peanuts with the red shell in their hands or in a plate, they can't blow on it to blow away what they don't want. That would be the malacha of zoreh. But you can't even put it in front of a fan or put it outside in a place where the wind is blowing to blow away the undesired things. Other than that, not so common that zoreh, that malacha of winnowing would be violated. However, there's a very interesting Ramah. The Ramah, one of the poskim, mainly Ashkenazi posek, brings from the Yerushalmi that if somebody spits and the wind scatters his spit, they violated zoreh. So the poskim discuss this, and they're very troubled because we just learned that the Gemara said zoreh, borer, and meraked are all the same idea because they all involve separating. Oh yeah, this doesn't involve separating. Somebody just spit in the wind and it's scattered. That's not separating. So some want to say it's asur midirabanan to throw something in the air and have it scatter. Others bring a counter argument and they say, well, we know that the halacha is that if Erev Pesach, on Erev Pesach you have to get rid of all of your chametz. You have to burn your chametz the day before Pesach. Now what if the day before Pesach falls out on Shabbat? You can't burn it. You can't burn chametz on Shabbat. What are you supposed to do? So the halacha says you're supposed to scatter it and throw it into the air. So you see that scattering something in the wind is not asur, right? Others say no, maybe that's different. So there's a lot of discussion about this. Now where is this practical? So there are poskim that say because of this, a person cannot use like air fresheners, sprays, bug sprays, deodorant sprays, because you're scattering the sprays into the air. You're scattering the little water particles all over the place. But the halacha doesn't follow those opinions. The halacha is that you are allowed to because it's not an act of separating. So since it's not an act of separating, one would be allowed to. You'd be allowed to spray air freshener, bug sprays, things like that. Now there are other things to keep in mind when it comes to that. Air fresheners, deodorants, those types of sprays that have a smell, you can't spray it onto a fabric because there's an issue of molid reach. You can't imbue a smell into something. Yeah, that's an issue of molid reach. So you can't spray it onto a fabric, but onto skin would be allowed according to Rav Ovadia, and into the air would be allowed, but just not directly onto fabric. And when it comes to bug spray, also you can't spray it in a way that you would be for sure killing the bugs. So you could spray it to repel bugs, but you can't spray it on bugs or in an area where you were for sure be killing the bugs. But other than that, spraying would be allowed. Okay, so now let's get to the borer. So when it comes to borer, so the Torah did not say that the Torah did not asur the act of eating, the normal act of eating. Now, when a person eats, many times they separate. A food can consist of different parts that you want and parts that you don't want. Or foods have seeds, foods have shells, foods have fats that you don't want, bones, whatever it is. So the Torah didn't asur what's called derech achila, the normal way of eating. What the Torah did say is asur is derech breira, the way of separating. So now, in order for it to be mutar, it has to be derech achila, the way of eating. What is derech achila? So there are three main rules. These three rules everybody probably already knows and everybody should know. These three things, you're saving yourself from a lot of borer issues. Number one, it has to be ochel mitoch psolet. The way of eating is you have to take the item that you want, the desired item, the food. You can't take away what you don't want. You have to take what you want to eat. Number two is it has to be beyad. You have to use you have to use your hands, meaning you can't use a tool that's designed to do the separating, like a sifter or some other type of tool that's designed to do separating. And number 3, it has to be for immediate use. So the rules are ochal mitoch psolet, good from bad, beyad, you have to use your hand, meaning as opposed to a tool, and miyad means immediately, it has to be immediate use. So again, good from bad, immediate use, and you can't use a special tool. Okay, so yeah.
When you say that it has to be for immediate use, so let's say you're planning to have a meal, but you don't know when it's going to start, but you just want everything to be ready.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to get into that. We're going to get into what the definition of immediate use is and how immediate that has to be. If any one of these conditions are missing, though, it's asur. So, for example, if somebody is eating and they take the good from bad, and they're not using a tool, but they don't plan on using it immediately. Let's say they plan on saving it for the next meal or something like that. That would be a problem. Or if somebody they're using it right away and they're not using a tool, but they're taking the bad from the good, that would be a problem. You need all 3 conditions to be met in order for it to be mutar. Okay, so now let's get into your question. So what's considered immediate use? So there's a difference between doing borer during a meal, like after you already, let's say, made hamotzi, and before the meal. Once a person's already in the middle of the meal, you're allowed to do borer as long as it's something that's going to be eaten during that meal, before Birkat Hamazon. So for example, you made hamotzi, you have eggs, you want to peel the eggs now and let them cool down. You're not going to eat them right away. You're going to leave them in the kitchen and let them cool down so you could bring them out when they're not so hot anymore. So that would be allowed because you already, right, peeling eggs would be an example of borer because you're removing the shell, you're removing the undesired part from the egg. So you would be allowed to do that even though you're not eating it right away because it's for the current meal that you're engaged in. As long as it's before Birkat Hamazon. If it's for after Birkat Hamazon, that may be more of a problem. So if that would be a problem. So if let's say somebody wants to peel fruits or something for dessert before Birkat Hamazon, you would have to make sure that you wouldn't get into borer issues. So how do you make sure that you don't get into borer issues? So we have to now talk about what about doing borer before the meal? How long before the meal do you have to separate? So the halacha really says, there's a Mordechai that writes, one of the Rishonim, he writes that if you do borer, if you separate for something that you're going to use a sha'ah, that's his words, a sha'ah later, that's a problem. Now what's a sha'ah? An hour, right? So you would think that what he means is you could separate as long as it's going to be used up to an hour. However, the poskim write that that's not what he means. Sha'ah doesn't necessarily mean hour. Sha'ah could just mean an amount of time. And both Rav Moshe Feinstein and Rav Ovadia Yosef, they both write that what he means is not that you have an hour. What he means is the minimum amount of time that you need to do that preparation, you have. So for example, let's say you need to take out select vegetables from your vegetable. You have a vegetable drawer and there's tomatoes in there, there's cucumbers, there's this and that, and you just need a couple of tomatoes. So that would be borer. You're taking out, you have to use it right away. You're allowed to take what you want from the mixture, but you have to use it right away. So what's considered right away? So the minimum amount of time that you need before the Su'udah, and Rav Ovadia writes, really it should be lechatchila, it should be samuch lesu'udah mamash, as close to the meal as possible. Now, what if you're having a big meal? What if you're having a lot of people and what's the maximum amount of time? Let's say you're hosting a Shabbat Sheva Brachot, or you're hosting a lot of people, or also let's say you don't know when when the guests are coming or when people are gonna, right? So for that, usually you'd be able to gauge, normally we start at this time, or I told them to come at this time, they're supposed to come at 12 or 12:30, so you'll be able to gauge and do the borer before they come. But when it comes to big meals, so if a person you have to peel 50 eggs and 50 onions, and you have a corn salad that you have to remove the corn from the liquid in the can, and You have to do borer for a bunch of things. So Rovadia says, like the Chazon Ish, that up to half an hour you could beforehand you could do the borer. So that would mean that any other preparations for the meal that don't involve borer should be done first. So, for example, if you have I don't know, vegetables that you need to cut, or things that you need to put on the blech, or whatever other things that may not involve borer, that you could do beforehand, but you should save the malachot that involve borer for as close to the meal as possible, and it should be within half an hour of when the meal is supposed to start. Now, if you don't know when your guests are coming, if you don't know when your guests are coming, you should be able to gauge, by the time that you're expecting them to come is good enough. So if you're expecting them to come at 12:30 and you need 20 minutes to prepare, you could start preparing 20 minutes before they come, before you're expecting them to come. If they come late, that's not something that I don't think you'd have to worry about. Okay. Yeah.
Is it better to bench like after dessert, because then you're putting the preparing before, like fruits, for example? I know sometimes people will serve dessert after they bench.
Yeah.
Would that help the situation?
So there is another advantage so it would be better to bench, meaning for this, it would be better to bench after dessert.
Bench, okay.
Because then you would be able to do borer for anything before Birkat Hamazon. So if you bring out the dessert and then you say Birkat Hamazon, so you could cut up the fruits and everything, it's before that meal.
But if it's already prepared, though, I'm saying, if you already prepared it before they came, does it make a difference?
Oh. Meaning you cut the fruits before.
The guests come. You don't want to leave them the meal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I would say the advantage there is a different advantage of saying Birkat Hamazon first before dessert, because when it comes to
Making breakfast.
first of all, some poskim you have to have 100. You're supposed to have 100 brachot a day, and on Shabbat that's harder. So some poskim say if you say Birkat Hamazon first, then you can make mizonot. Also, when it comes to certain desserts for Sfaradim, it's a big question whether or not to say mizonot on it. And we're strict. We don't say extra brachas. We don't say mizonot on desserts before Birkat Hamazon. But if you said Birkat Hamazon, then you would get out of that question, and you would for sure have to make a mizonot. So that's the advantage of saying Birkat Hamazon first. But if you already cut up fruit from beforehand and you were expecting to have them during this meal, then I would think that you should have it as part of this meal and then say Birkat Hamazon afterwards. That's what I would think.
What if you taste it when you're preparing it?
Okay, so that's a good question. So how does that impact the right? Can you taste, like, you're making a whole thing for a whole army of people, and like, okay, I'll taste a little bit. Is that good enough?
Also, like when someone's cutting a melon, they cut the whole melon and put it in the fridge.
Yeah. So very good.
Have it in mind, right?
And why? You said it's derech ochal. Like why peeling and like fruits is borer? Like
So-
this is the way we eat it.
So we'll get to peeling fruits. Different types of fruits are going to be different. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that next, or in a little bit, soon. Okay. So next. So next let's talk about the following. So imagine you have just on the topic of immediate use. So imagine you didn't realize, oh, oops, I forgot my challah is in the freezer, or I have rolls, I have pita, whatever that I need to use for lechem mishnah, I left it in the freezer. And let's say the freezer is a big mess, and it's considered a mixture of items. You have a challah, and you have this and that, and whatever in the freezer. Are you allowed to remove the challah from the freezer and let it defrost? Is that considered immediate use? You're not using it immediately.
But it's good from the bad. It's not bad from the good. Isn't it different?
So, right, still you need to have all three conditions. So it needs to be good from bad, it needs to be immediate use, and not using...
It's not immediate use because we need to defrost it. So that's the way, like, in order for me to be able to use it right away, I have to take it out 2 hours before. So
Okay, but
that's
is
the
that
only way
considered...
it's edible, otherwise it's not.
It would have been edible if you would have taken it out before Shabbat also.
But
Not as fresh.
for Shabbos lunch.
You forgot. You ran out.
Or you ran out.
Yeah, you ran out. You forgot. Okay, so let's talk about this for a minute. So the truth is that really, first of all, if everything is organized in the freezer and it's not a big mess, then I don't think you would have an issue. Meaning, if things are organized and everything has its own shelf and everything is, it doesn't look like a mixture. Everything is kind of what?
Is it okay if it's stacked?
It's really, this is like one of the hardest parts of borer. It's stacked, but it could still be stacked, and when you just first look at it, it looks like a whole mixture. Sometimes it's very clear what's what. Like the poskim talk about, you have Sfarim on a bookshelf, right? They're all nicely organized, but like sometimes it could still be a mixture. It depends if they kind of look the same. If you have a bunch of things wrapped in tinfoil in the freezer, and you have to kind of like think about what's what, that would be a mixture. Right? Some poskim, right? If you have like books on a bookshelf, if they all kind of look the same, and you have to, like, one of them says on it volume 1, volume 2, you have to like look at the words, you have to look closely to discern, so then that would be a mixture. But if all of them are different colors and they each stand out differently, that wouldn't be a mixture, according to some poskim.
Is that the same with like the vegetable drawer? Like if you have like your cucumbers in one place, your tomatoes in one place, and everything in a place, then is it still borer to just take out the tomato?
Yeah, so if you have like let's say like compartments, or like you kind of make your own compartments by just having them each clearly in their own section, so then that may not be borer. But usually people just dump everything in the drawer and it's all mixed together. That would be a problem.
Isn't there the other issue of when you take something out of your freezer, like you're not allowed to touch your raw meat because it's muktzah?
Yeah. So this is talking about without moving muktzah, meaning if there's muktzah in front of it, or muktzah in the like raw meat or flour or I don't know things.
You can't move your raw meat to get what you want.
No, you would have to get it without it.
With a
Raw
shiur?
meat is muktzah?
Raw meat, unless it's something that's frozen raw meat. If it's something that's edible, if it's something we'll cover muktzah at a different time. But if it's something that's edible, like animals will eat, or you have a pet that will eat it or whatever, then it wouldn't be muktzah. But otherwise, raw meat, since it's not edible and it doesn't have any use for Shabbat right now, it would be muktzah.
Could you move it with your elbow?
Yeah, you could move it. You could move it in a shinui way. You could do that. You can move it with your forearm or something to get it out of the way, or you could just reach back and get what you want. Just there's another issue that you have to make sure not to purposely put something muktzah on top of what you're going to want and leave it there for Shabbat, because then what's underneath, let's say you have your challah, or even in the fridge, you have what?
Ice cream.
Yeah, let's say you have ice cream in the freezer and you put on top of it a bag of flour or something muktzah. So that would be a problem. If you purposely put it there, what's underneath it becomes a basis. It has the status of that muktzah thing on top also.
But
So
it's
if you-
it's not.
So it would have the status of whatever item you put. But if you didn't do it on purpose, you didn't do it because you purposely wanted it to be there, or you forgot it was there, then it's fine. If it's shachach, if you forgot that it's there, you didn't realize, then it's fine.
Even if it's not doesn't have value,
If what doesn't have value?
the item that's there, like the flour doesn't have much value. Why does under it still becomes a basis?
I believe so, yeah. Okay, but let's get back to the borer issue. So we have a lot to cover. So can you take it out to defrost? Or a similar question, let's say you have a schnitzel in the fridge that you want to heat up. So you're going to take it out of the fridge. Let's say you have a bunch of things, it's not organized in your refrigerator, and you just want to take out the schnitzel. You're looking through and you see, oh, my schnitzel is wrapped in this tin foil, or it's in this Tupperware or whatever. I want to take it out and put it on the blech. You're not eating it right away. So would that be allowed or not? So Shmir Shabbat Hilchot, he wrote one thing in his sefer, and then later on in his new volume, he concluded a little bit differently. He was choser. After reevaluating, he came to a different conclusion, and his final conclusion, the way I understood what he says, is like this. He says that there are some things that you need to do it in order to make it ready right now. Like the schnitzel, for example, it's not something that you could have done before Shabbat. Like it needs to be in the fridge, and you need to take it out and put it and heat it up as part of eating it. The challah, though, that's something that you could have done before Shabbat. That's not something that you need to do right now as part of the process. You could have done it before. So when it comes to the way I understand what he says, when it comes to challah or something that could have been done before Shabbat, let's say you have in a storage room, you have a whole bunch of cans of soda or something, and you want to pick specific ones to put in the fridge to be cool for the meal, you would have to do that before Shabbat, or you would have to do that. You would have to avoid borer. But if it's something that couldn't have been done before Shabbat, and it's part of the process of what you need to do to ready the food, then you would be allowed to do it. That's what I understood from what he says.
If it's not in a mixture, then it's not like what if you're just putting it in the fridge and it's just on your counter?
Yeah, that's for sure fine. If it's not a mixture, then there's no issue at all. Absolutely no issue at all.
Also, what if our personal preference is we don't want to take it out before Shabbat, like challah? So if someone had challah in the freezer stocked up, it's gonna get like wet and soggy if they take it out before Shabbat. If they're heating it up for lunch.
Right. So what I would say the best thing to do is to put it in your freezer in a way that it won't be borer. Just put it right in front of the front shelf or whatever on its own. Meaning, don't put it in a way that you're gonna have to look and find where it is or something like that, because then you would get into borer issues.
So if we have like random ice cream or whatever stashed in the freezer and we forgot, like the kids are over, like friends are over, and you want to go look for it, you can't. If you don't know where it is and it's not right in the front.
You can take it out for immediate use. Ice cream you could use immediately. The issue is really when you're taking things out and you have to wait for a long time. Like challah, you're not going to have within half an hour of taking it out. But right. So challah, usually you're taking out a few hours before you're using it. Ice cream, you could take it out and you use it 5 minutes, whatever. You want to let it sit and a little bit defrost for 10 minutes or something like that. That's fine.
But if it's cookies, no, I was gonna say if it's cookies and it needs to defrost, but you're only pulling it out because more people are coming, whatever.
Yeah, cookies you could also defrost. You could what's it called? If you're doing it during a meal, like people are coming as during a meal or it's part of a meal, then that would be fine because you have the whole duration of the meal as long as it's going to be eaten during the meal. If you're doing it in preparation for the meal, so then that would be the same like challah, but you could defrost it faster than challah. You could take it out and put it on the hot plate and it'll be nice and toasty, I think, within.
So the problem with challah is that it's just gonna take a longer amount
Yeah,
of time.
the problem is it's an example of something that you're taking out and it's not immediate. It's not immediate.
So what are we doing? Are we taking out or not taking out?
So I'll tell you.
Absolutely need it.
So okay, so let's say there is one Rav Elio Falk from London. He has a tshuva. He has a sefer called Mechz Elio. He writes that it's mutter. I think he's saying the reason that you were saying that this is what I need. Like this is how I need to eat it right now. This is part of the immediate use is for it to be defrosted. Like that's my immediate use. But many poskim argue with him. So what I would say is a person should try to avoid it. But if it happens, if there's no option, you don't have anybody that you could borrow from, and you have guests, and you need the bread, then there's what to rely on. You could rely on. But
Can you put it directly on the blach?
Yeah.
Straight out of the freezer?
Yeah. Okay. So next, let's talk about peeling. Okay. So peeling vegetables. So when it comes to peeling vegetables, fruits, eggs, things like that, so there are two different types of peels. There are peels that are not fully attached and not really part of the fruit. The peel is kind of separate from the fruit. It's not something that's eaten with the fruit. For example, a banana, egg, orange, an onion peel, pomegranate peel. Then you have other types of peels that are like attached and it's part of the fruit, like a cucumber peel or apple, peaches, pears, right? All those types of things. So Rav Ovadia makes a distinction. He says type 1, things that are not attached and eaten with the fruit, it's not part of the fruit, that would present a borer issue, and a person would only be able to peel it for immediate use. So a banana, oranges, anyways, these things usually you don't want to peel beforehand because it's just not how it's done. But you would have to do it for immediate use. And even though you're removing the bad from the good, but that's the only way you can access the fruit, and that's considered the derech achila, the way of eating for these types of things. So you're allowed to remove the peel to get to the fruit. Type 2, the type that the skin is attached to the fruit itself. So Rav Ovadia writes there's no issue of borer with those types of fruits because it's really one thing. The skin is part of the fruit. We don't view it as two different things that are like together. The skin is part of the fruit. And also he says usually it's eaten together. So therefore it's not borer. Not everyone agrees to this, but most poskim, many poskim, I shouldn't say most, many poskim agree to this, and that's what Rav Ovadia says. That would be the halacha that we would follow. And because of that, Rav Ovadia and Rav Ben Zion, Abba Shaul, they both allow using a peeler for those types of fruits to peel cucumbers, apples.
What about pineapple? Because it's attached, but you don't really eat.
Right. So pineapple, yeah. So that's a good question. So pineapple, I think would be closer to type. He says two reasons. One is it's attached, and two is it's part of the what's it called? It's part of the fruit. It's eaten with the thing. So you wouldn't have both reasons by a pineapple. So, but anyways, you wouldn't want to cut up. I mean, yeah, pineapple you would. It doesn't. You could cut it up and put it in the fridge for later. You could, but it's not like the type of fruit that you do immediately for eating. So yeah, pineapple, watermelon, I think you would have to do for immediate use. The thing is though that this isn't such a heavy line of reasoning when it comes to this, but there are poskim that say that another additional reason why using a peeler would be okay is because when you use a peeler, you're peeling off part of the fruit together with the skin. Like you're not peeling the skin exactly. If you were to take an apple and peel off the skin with your finger, you would get less than when you peel it with a peeler. So when cutting like skin of a pineapple, you maybe would be able to say the same thing, that you're cutting off some of the flesh of the pineapple together with the skin. But I would say that it should be done for immediate use within the time frame of the meal that would be allowed.
So is that why you can't make salad in advance on Shabbat? Because if you're using a peeler, you need to be using it right away.
So salad, there are two issues with making a salad. One is chopping the vegetables very, very small. That would be one issue, which we'll talk about when we get to the Malach of Tochen. For the issue of peeling, yeah, if you're going to be peeling, let's say you're going to be peeling, according to Rav Ovadia, peeling those types of vegetables wouldn't be an issue. Peeling, let's say cucumbers, wouldn't be an issue. If I remember correctly, I believe Yalkut Yosef says when it comes to using a peeler, Hamachmir Tavolav Bracha, if somebody wants to be strict, good for you. But I don't think Rav Ovadia says that. But so it comes out that peeling, let's say carrots, apples, those types of things, you'd be allowed to use a peeler, and you would be allowed to peel them. There wouldn't be a borer issue, but other types of fruits where the skin is not together eaten with the fruit, it's not all one unit, that would be a problem, and that would have to be peeled. Beforehand. For immediate use. Okay. Next.
Sorry, what is considered immediate? What's the timeline?
So maximum, we mentioned before, maximum is within half an hour, but as close to using it as possible. So ideally it should be as close to using it as possible, maximum half an hour, but we mentioned before, if you're in the middle of a meal, then you would be allowed to separate it for any time you're using it in that meal. So if you started your meal and you're going to have these fruits before Birkat Hamazon, then you could, from the beginning of the meal, separate them for Birkat Hamazon. Yeah.
So basically, let's
For
say
before
you
Birkat.
start preparing for a meal at 9 a.m. knowing your husband and the guests are coming at 12:30. Okay.
Okay.
You make all your salads and stuff like that. None of them is really borer. None of the cans or whatever. It's just regular salads. So you have to wait till the closest possible time to the meal to do the lemon, for example, squeeze lemon.
So squeezing lemon would be fine. That's not a borer issue, but the seeds, yeah.
And then,
so the
taking
seeds.
the good with the bad and all that.
So it depends how you're doing it. If you're taking what you want, meaning if it's not borer for a different reason, then it's not borer. So, for example, let's talk about seeds. We'll talk about what you could do to remove seeds. But if something is not borer, then you don't have to do it immediately. So, meaning, let's say for example, you found you found an eggshell in your egg salad, right? So you can't take out the eggshell. So what do you want to do? You want to take out a whole scoop of the egg salad. So the Taz writes that that's allowed if you're taking the whole mixture, the whole area around the egg salad, around the shell, then that's fine. That's not called borer.
I have
So-
a question with that.
Yeah.
Can you do that? Okay, and then put it aside on a plate, and then take the good from the bad. Like take half of the scoop of the whatever.
So
I've always had that question. Let's say you took a whole scoop out, right? With the
So yeah, so if you take the whole scoop out, that's fine. But if you want to now take the good from the bad, you have to eat it immediately. That has to be for immediate use.
So you have to put on your plate.
So you could take the whole scoop, put it on your plate, and
Can't
then
put it back in
eat
the
it.
salad.
You could put it back in the salad if the salad is going to be used immediately.
Right, like while you're preparing for the meal, this happens.
Yeah, as long as it's within the time frame that would be allowed as considered immediate. Yeah.
When we're but salad, if like the cucumber and the tomatoes are both in the same drawer, then like you're taking it out, then you're doing borer.
If you have a mixture in your drawer, if you have a mixture in your drawer of vegetables and you're taking ones that you're not using within the time frame that's considered right immediate, then that would be an issue. Yeah.
Okay, and then when you're cutting fruits, so you said it could be done with like let's say you want to use your fruit within the meal, but it's gonna be at the end. Can you cut the fruit 30 minutes before your meal starts?
Yeah, I believe so. I think
Is
so.
that the same thing?
Yeah.
Like if we're starting 12:30, I'm gonna cut my fruit at 12, but we're not eating the fruit till 2, 3, whatever.
So I would imagine that would be fine. I would think so, but let me think about it a little bit more and get back to you. I would think that would be fine. Yeah.
Chickpeas in a can or hearts of palm, and you want to separate the juice. What's the best way to do that?
Best way is to scoop out what you want. That's the best.
That is the best
But
way.
there might be
What
a
if we
difference
use
between
the
chickpeas
Not
and
spoon?
rice.
not
What
with
if-
the spoon with holes in it, because that's
With the spoon.
over.
We'll talk about a spoon with holes in it. Maybe next time, but
That's what I was gonna say.
well.
But what if we use the can, but we let some of the chickpea fall out with the juice, because
Yeah.
that's like not
Kind of
separating
like
at that point.
Also
So-
corn and tuna.
Because
Yeah,
even
so-
when I do it with a spoon, I usually find that there's still juices, and then the whole
Yeah.
salad gets diluted, and it's just not the same.
Okay, so you know what? Let's try to cover what's for today, and then no, because it's a very good question. There might be a difference between corn and things that are smaller and more viewed as mixed with the water than like hearts of palm or pickles or some olives or something bigger. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that next time, B'ezrat Hashem. About that, and even about if you can use the lid as for draining. Is that allowed? Is that not allowed? We're gonna talk about. We'll save that for next time. Let's just try to get through. Okay, so let's talk about separating seeds and pits and stuff while we're on the topic of fruits. So when it comes to seeds and pits, there are different types of fruits with different types of seeds. Anything that has one single hard seed, like avocado, peach. Things like that. So the poskim write dates, peaches, plums, avocados. So the poskim writes really Prima Ganim. Prima Ganim writes that you could take it out while you're in the process of eating it, because that's the derech achila. You don't take a peach and the way you eat it is you have to take out the thing and eat it. Or a date, you have to take out the pit and eat it. That's just how you do it. Avocado also, in order to cut it or whatever, you have to take out the pit to do it. You can't. What are you gonna do? You can't take the good from the bad. You have to take the pit out. It just doesn't work otherwise. So, what?
How about cherry?
Cherry would be the same. I mean, cherry. You.
Put it in your mouth.
Yeah. So that's it. Okay. Yeah. So
Now
cherry.
you check it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Also, cherry. You do. Yeah. So cherries and dates, you have to check. I don't. They do. It's seasonal.
Not
Yeah.
all the time.
Figs and dates I do, but I never catch
It's seasonal, yeah. But actually, I just spoke to Hoodie earlier. We're working on putting together a for the ladies, like fruit and vegetable checking tutorial. Yeah.
The Star K.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get somebody from the Star K. The thing is, in the winter, it's a bit tougher because it's not like if you really wanna. Yeah, it's not as infested. So if you really want to see like what the bugs look like and what you're looking for, it's better to wait until it warms up a little bit. Okay, but anything like that with one big seed and that's the way you eat it, then you're allowed to take out the seed as part of the process of eating. What about watermelon? Something that has multiple seeds. So the Ben Ish Chai and Rav Ovadia both write that you could cut the watermelon and you should shake off the seeds. Now, I saw in a sefer that back in the Middle Eastern countries many years ago, the watermelons were packed with seeds. It's not like nowadays there's like, a few seeds. Yeah. So they said you'd have to cut it and like you'd shake off and like a lot of the seeds would fall out and then you're left with like the inside seeds. So what about the inside seeds? So some poskim say that you have to eat it and spit out the seeds, but others say that Rav Ovadia goes like this. That and the Ben Ish Chai, they both say that in the process of eating, you're allowed to remove the seeds. So if you have a watermelon with seeds in it, I don't know who still gets watermelons with seeds in it, but you have a watermelon with seeds in it and you're eating it with your fork, you're allowed to, take out the seeds as you're eating it. That's part of the process of eating. That's what Rav Ovadia writes. Apples, oranges, those things you're usually not eating. I'm saying oranges, usually you don't take out the seeds. You eat them and you spit out the seeds.
Like that white membrane thing.
What about you doing it for your baby?
Oh, yeah. So for a baby, I would say the way, like if you want to give the baby an orange to put in their own mouth, I would say you could just bite the middle. You could bite the seed out, like bite the middle part and like suck out the seed and spit it out and then give it to the baby.
Yeah, but I think that's good for them because that's edible. But I don't eat that. So
The apples, let's say apples, the way it would come up is like, let's say you cut the apple or pear in quarters and you want to scoop out with a knife the middle area, that should be fine, because you're cutting out the whole area. You're not taking out the seeds exactly. You're cutting out that area.
Also in
That should be
cantaloupe,
fine.
you could just scoop it all out.
So yes, so let's say honeydew, cantaloupe, those types of melons. Many poskim say that you are allowed to scoop it out as long as you're doing it for immediate use.
What about like the inside of a pineapple, that like really hard piece?
The core.
But the way you cut it is.
Yeah, you cut it.
No, you cut it.
It depends how you cut it.
Right.
Cut it in half and then cut it in
Yeah,
triangles.
you could. I mean, it depends. There are different ways of cutting it. You could cut it around the core, or you could just slice it in the long way or whatever that way, horizontally, and leave it, and people could just hold it and eat around it.
Like with the orange, it's okay for me to take off like that white membrane thing that I don't like.
So that would be. I think that would be a problem. To take off the membrane. Unless you're going with Rav Ovadia's thing that usually it's eaten together and it's part of the fruit, maybe that would apply to oranges as well, to the white part of the oranges as well. What Rav Shlomo Zalman says you could do, a very easy fix, is he says you should do this by dates. Just hold the pit and take away the fruit. So you could do that with the thing. You just hold the white part and like pull away the part that you want. That way it's viewed as you're taking the good from the bad.
You have to like peel it off.
I do that with avocado. Like if
like to
you
peel off the
slice
gut.
it enough, you could just peel the little piece off of the pit. You're really peeling the good from the back.
Oh yeah? I don't know. I'm not super handy in the kitchen.
I do like a quarter.
Is it the same with bones and fat for meat?
Okay, so let's get to bones and fat. Yeah. Okay, let's try to wrap this up within the next couple minutes. So when it comes, a few things I want to get to. Okay, so the heterim for scooping out seeds of the cantaloupe, and the Orchot Shabbat says you're even allowed to do it with a spoon. You could use a spoon to scoop it out. The heter is, number one, that's the only way that you can access the fruit. You have to get it out to be able to eat the fruit properly. And number two, some say that it's like the seeds are in its own little pocket in there. It's not considered a mixture. It's not considered mixed with the thing. But either way, those are the reasons to be lenient and take out for that heter. Okay, so now I wanted to get to lemons. So just last time somebody asked about when it came to squeezing lemons. Last time somebody asked, I think you asked about using the fork to squeeze the lemons. So at the time I didn't really think about it. I thought it may be a problem, but after I thought about it, I don't think it's a problem at all because it's not a tool that's designed specifically for that. So that would be allowed, but you can't. So now you don't want your seeds to go in the salad. You're squeezing lemon on the salad. You don't want your seeds to go in the salad. What do? So you can't use a strainer. You can't use your fingers as a strainer. You can, like, last time somebody mentioned, can you like put it in your hand, like cup your hand and like let it spill? You could do that, but you can't like hold back the seeds from, you can't like play a trick and like hold the seeds, and it's gonna be hard to do. What you can do is you can also like do it, spill it, squeeze it into a cup and pour the juice, but you just can't like hold back the seeds or like use the cup to like hold the seeds. Yeah, you shouldn't do that. So it's tough. What I've done is you could hold the lemon upside down and squeeze it upside down, and the juice will just come and the seeds will usually stay on top. And then you could, like, when the seeds come out, just like shake it into the garbage and just continue.
Can you go like that?
That's what I do.
Wow.
When you see it like loosen, can you go like that?
Shake it off.
Shake it up. To shake it, but like tap it to shake it.
The seeds?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually your seed, some of the juice is gonna, meaning like you squeeze it a little bit into the thing and like some juice and lemon come out together. Okay, so.
Poke it with like a fork or a chopstick and then squeeze.
Oh, so you asked me this last time. I'm really not sure about it. I thought about it a lot. Meaning, can you, like, let's say, take a fork and prong the outside of the lemon and squeeze it, and that way there's only small holes and the juice will come out and the seeds won't come out. So it may be an issue of borer bekli. You're using this, you created this tool now to do the borer for you. I'm not 100% sure. I actually meant to speak to Rabbi Heinemann about it, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it'll work or not.
I do it every day. That's just how I
It works.
squeeze the
It
lemon.
works to hold back
I
the
usually
juice.
do a chopstick.
Really?
It's a bigger one, and then I just squeeze.
So you don't cut the lemon? You just
No.
really?
I don't want. I just put it on like the
Yeah.
edge.
Grind like that.
The truth is, she could do it with a knife.
Actually,
You
the
take a
knife
knife
is gonna
and
make
make
it
it
roll.
Yeah,
Because
but
then
then
I
it
make
might
more
fall
seeds.
off.
I do it at the edge. Like by the
I understand, but I'm saying technically you could do it with a knife.
Is the seed
small.
gonna
Okay.
fall out of it?
Ladies, we're gonna try to finish up within the next couple of minutes. So let's talk about removing bones. Maybe we should make this into 3 things on board. Okay, let's talk about bones. So removing bones from fish, chicken, meat, if it's attached, meaning we're not talking about that the bones were already removed and then it got mixed in with your food and rice. We're not talking about that. That would be a problem to remove the bones. But if you have a piece of chicken with a bone in it, or you have fish with bones in it, so Rovadia, Or Letzion, Ben Ish Chai, they all write that you're allowed to take out as part of the process of eating for a combination of a few reasons, but we don't have time to get into that now, but that would be allowed. But that's only if it's all one unit. You have a fish with bones in it, or chicken, or meat, whatever with bones in it. But once the bone has separated, and then it just, let's say, you're eating cholent and you had bones in your cholent and the bone is in your cholent, it's not together with the piece of meat. You're not separating it from the unit that it came in. It's its own bone now that got mixed into your food. That's a problem to remove. That you can't remove. And then, last thing I wanted to cover is there is also borer with, it's not only with items like bones and seeds and things like that. Even if you have 2 types of food and one of them is undesired, that's borer. So if you have a salad and you have tomatoes in it and you don't like tomatoes, it's borer to remove the tomatoes. You are allowed to give them to somebody who does like tomatoes to eat immediately. So if one of your children or your husband or whatever likes tomatoes, you can take the tomatoes off of your plate and give it to them for them to eat immediately. Or if you have an animal, Rovadia says you could take the bad from the good, the undesired thing, to give it to your animal to eat right away also. When it comes to, so this is pretty common. Let's say you have like grapes, or someone just said their husband's an animal. I won't tell, don't worry.
But I want to get
Okay, so if you have what's it called? If you have grapes or lettuce, let's say you have salad, you have a bunch of cut up lettuce in the salad, and like some of them, it's like embarrassing to bring in front of the guests. Some of the lettuce is like not good, but you already put it all in the bowl. What are you supposed to do? Or like grapes, some of the grapes are not good. So you can't take the bad grapes out. You can't do that. You have to take the good ones and put them in a different bowl. Or what you could do is if the lettuce it's like edible, it just doesn't look so nice, or like the grapes, it's like a little bit mushy, you don't mind eating it, but it's not nice to bring for the guests, so you just take off those ones and eat them.
Why can't you
Yeah,
take
you
a
can do
couple?
Eat it.
Like
You
a
can't
couple
throw it
good
away,
with a couple
right?
bad, like a handful.
Yeah, if you're taking, you could do that too. According to the you could do that too. Yeah, I mean, you can't like it has to be the poskim right that heter of taking the good with the bad. You can't do like like one tiny little piece of the good and like the whole bad. It has to be it has to be like the whole like that whole area, the surrounding area, the whole area that's like surrounding the bad thing. So you're removing the whole mixture.
And then you could pick it back.
And then you could do that, yeah. Meaning it's you're taking the good, yeah.
So you have to do a sacrifice and eat those mushed like grapes and stuff like that.
That you could do that. Oh, we didn't mention also. Last time somebody mentioned that if you have like seeds in a salad or something like that, you could. You said Rabbi Kakian said you could do this, right? You could. That's a very good idea. You could take the seeds out and put them in your mouth. You're sucking on the seeds for the juice or whatever. Meaning, if you're taking it for using, you're allowed to do that.
Now my question is, why if oranges and tomatoes and cucumbers are in a jar, they're huge, they're distinguishable, they're not really one big mix. Why is that boring?
So
It's like the same idea with the cans, like the cans you're throwing out, the empty ones. They're big. They're not
Yeah.
like, you have to look which one you just grab.
So when I don't know about your vegetable drawer, but my vegetable drawer is pretty.
That type.
Yeah, I mean there's just everything is dumped in there. So it is you it's not you do sometimes have to like do we have any tomatoes? I don't know. Let me check and like move things around. So it is. I would think it is something
If you
that's a
take
mixture.
from the top and you're not really concentrating.
So
Like the
it
tomatoes right on
but once it's part of a mixture, then it's part of a mixture. Even if you're taking from the top.
But
I
if
would
you
think
more
so.
or less like try to put the tomatoes in the back corner and the cucumbers in that corner, then it's fine.
I would think that if when you open the drawer, you could see that like this row is tomatoes, this row is cucumbers, this row is onions, or
You're not
whatever.
organized.
Not
it's
rows,
a-
not corners. Like the tomato is like in the front. Like,
I think if when you open it, it looks organized, it doesn't look like a mixture.
organized
Then
is very relative.
yeah, no, it's
like
true.
compared to let's say the drawer you're describing, it's not like a colorful mess. It's just like
Right.
no dividers.
Right. No, it's true. This is something that the poskim all point out and all struggle with. That yes, it's very relative.
So how do you make a salad?
Should be very organized in your
What?
How do you make a salad? Like vegetables are also
So you would you would have to do it. You would have to have it separate from before, or being separated within the time frame that would be
right
allowed.
before the table. We just put it
I would think
in
so.
the fridge.
Okay.
Thank you.